I'm going to make this very brief. I think the first time that I really became aware of the Library of America was in the mid-90s. I had this big revelation about Eugene O'Neill, who I hated for a long time and then realized was the best of the best. So I bought the 3 volumes of the Library of America's collected works of Eugene O'Neill and carried them with me everywhere. On vacation, my husband got very angry at me because they were following me everywhere. I was writing, had the idea of writing a screenplay. My agent, Brian Ciparella, is sitting right here, and he will attest to the fact that the screenplay is now 27 years overdue. But someday I'll finish it. So, oh God, I mean, I was going to read something that I wrote for the National Theater's production many years ago of Morning Becomes Electra. When I finished this and sent it to the National, one of the people on the staff called me and said that she thought that I should know that they had opened the box office that day, and the first person in line asked for tickets for the play Maureen Becomes a Lecturer. Everybody said so many amazing, okay. Much that an American playwright needs to know, I'll be very, very fast. Much that an American playwright needs to know can be learned by studying Eugene O'Neill's life and work. He read a lot, he sailed the ocean, and he suffered. His income went up and down and was never reliable. His reputation went up and down and was also unreliable. He avoided the film industry entirely. He also avoided rehearsals as much as he could. Productions of his work caused him to despair, but he kept writing. He worked very, very hard. He gave up heavy drinking early on and was mostly abstemious, disciplined. He exercised. He wrote his plays in longhand. He took his time. He followed the news. He was politically brave. He wrote of the self and also of the world. He wrote for the stage and also for publication. He was theatrical. He was dialectical. He cultivated a public image. He kept his figure. He made friends with a few important critics. He married someone who believed in his work. Winning big prizes did not protect him from savage assault. He argued with God. He hid from the world. He knew he had a soul. He exhorted himself to write better, dig deeper, and he did. There are several good biographies of O'Neill. His was the sort of life that lends itself beautifully to biography. Epic, crammed full of astonishing and satisfying narrative incident, triumphs, calamities, horrible tragedy, spiritual darkness, meanness, lunacy, courage. His character was huge and contradictory and well chronicled. A small crowd of remarkable people intersected with the largely antisocial playwright, Emma Goldman, John Reed, Robert Edmund Jones, Paul Robeson, George G. Nathan, Sean O'Casey, Hart Crane, and unhappily for O'Neill, Charlie Chaplin, who married O'Neill's daughter. He was a Titan, he was a Promethean, he wanted to be Promethean, and he was. O'Neill's was one of the important voices of his age. He articulated its ambiguities and plumbed its depths, and did so through a medium that was, before he seized hold of it, almost entirely successful at resisting depth and ambiguity, the American theater. It is not excessive to write that O'Neill created serious American drama. He was the scion of what had come before, the sensational, historical, narrative, novelistic melodrama, a flashpot and sheet metal theater of noise and exclamation. And O'Neill retained a vestigial fondness for the exclamation mark until the end of his writing life. Long Day's Journey into Night is loaded with them. His father perfectly embodied the grandeur of that early tradition and its corruption and desiccation, as well in the brawl of the American marketplace. American theater, as incarnated by James O'Neill, presented the sun with an edible target writ large, practically begging to be taken down, overturned, slain at the crossroads. Of course, O'Neill's theatrical DNA has 19th century melodrama molecules in it. Whose hasn't? For all of his and our effort to forge ahead, less time has passed and less distance has been gained than we like to think. If you read all 50 of Eugene O'Neill's plays, from the early short dramas and comedies he wrote before and during his enrollment in George Pierce Baker's English 47 Playwrights Workshop at Harvard, to the sea plays and the first full-length dramas, on through the protean experiments with form, the daring investigations of forbidden content, the dogged pursuit of elusive meaning, you will watch American playwriting crack its eggshell and struggle free, struggle being the operative and appropriate word, free of an era in America era in which all that was expected of theater was that it lie effectively, not convincingly. O'Neill's body of work is not shapely. Few such bodies are. His struggles wore him to a frazzle, killed him probably, and marred and marked his writing. In his short story, The Old System, Saul Bellow invokes something he calls the demon in charge of the special ugliness of America. I think that demon's principality is the new, the fierce, ungainly struggle is its heartbeat. It has been said that O'Neill spent a lifetime writing failed plays before he got it right. He wrote 49 plays and perhaps only one great play, but that was great enough to be worth the wait. 49 plays to forge a path through the wilderness for his descendants to follow, 49 plays that lay the groundwork for serious American drama, and then one indisputably great play nestled securely in the pantheon of world literature, dramatic and otherwise. O'Neill knew that it was his best play, even though he tried to have it hidden from public view until 25 years after his death and stated clearly in his will that it ought never to be performed on stage. Imagine that. His widow's betrayal of his wishes, whatever else it might be, must be seen as by us as an act of the greatest beneficence. O'Neill must have known that it was very great, great in a way that nothing he'd written was, great in a way little else written for the theater was. But it's a grave disservice to O'Neill's monumental accomplishment to view the rest of his work as mere prelude and extended vamp towards Long Day's Journey. The first plays are messy, even embarrassing, but the authority and audacity of an important writer are there at the awkward beginning. Deeply influenced by Hauptmann and Synge and Jesus Christ, the writer O'Neill settled at once among the poor, the despised, and the outcast. Inheritor of a theater grown sluggish with nostalgia and fuzzy pseudo-historical romance, he wrote with obstreperous ugliness and a kind of carnal glee about abortion, prostitution. Like Gladstone, from whom he was named, he was much preoccupied with prostitutes, class, murder, and suicide. A few others had engaged this way with the downside of American life, some long before O'Neill began, and he certainly had his contemporaries. But O'Neill was seeking, almost from the beginning of his career, to move beyond empathy, compassion, and outrage to something else, seeking some tremendous meaning he discerned, beckoning vaguely on the other side of emotion and intellect. All such pursuits risk pretentiousness, clunky poetry, dramaturgical and aesthetic disaster, of which O'Neill delivered a generous portion. He was a writer-explorer in the tradition of Herman Melville, one of the first and foremost of America's seafaring mythifiers, for whom, as with O'Neill, the ocean is a vast incubatory of metaphor. Melville's prayer from Marty might have been O'Neill's own. Fiery yearnings their own phantom future make, and deem it present. So, if after all these fearful fainting trances, the verdict be, the golden haven was not gained, yet, in bold quest thereof, better to sink in boundless deeps than float on vulgar shores, and give me, ye gods, an utter wreck, if wreck I do. I'll stop there.